Hello iChurchers and welcome back to another tutorial. Today we're going to be looking at editing some of the bits of our page. We have already gone through an overview of how pages work, and we already discussed that it would be very impractical for us to go through all the different ways that you can edit a page and the bits, or we call them modules, within a page. There are so many modules to choose from, and iChurch using Divi offers you so many different ways of different ways of displaying text and images in a nice way, in accessible ways. And as you can see on this page, we've done an example of that. So what we have at the bottom here is what we call an accordion. So that means that it segments the data into individual bellows, if you like, to use the accordion term, and people can open them up one at a time, and it closes all the others. There are lots of different options like this on iChurch, and we will set up your site in a way that utilizes those to the best of their abilities. But you may wish to add some of those in the future, or of course you will wish, I'm sure, to edit them as well. Now, we're not going to go through editing each module, we're just going to go through the principles of editing any module, because once you've got those principles nailed down, then the process should be fairly simple. The other bonus is that these modules aren't from iChurch really, they're from Divi. And Divi has an absolute wealth of resources of its own in order to help you guide your way along. So even if this tutorial doesn't quite cut it, or even if the support from iChurch doesn't quite cut it, then you can simply visit www.elegantthemes.com, and then you can go to the contact page and then documentation, and it will land you on this page that is full of tutorial help sheets, basically, as well as videos on how to look at each individual part of your iChurch or Divi website. So we're currently looking at editing some bits of our page at the moment. So we're looking at modules mainly. That's what we want to be editing most of the time. So to edit or to change bits of our module, we need to click the settings button. So that's the cog icon on this module. And what that does is, apologies, I was just on the wrong tab there. What that does is it opens up first of all, the content. So we have 3 tabs on every single module. We've got content, design, and advanced. And as the names would suggest, the content is the stuff you've got, the design is what it looks like, and the advanced stuff, basically, you don't need to worry about. So that's the joy of Divi, is you can compartmentalize it. If all I need to do is change the text, then I simply select the bit of text, say I want to get rid of, and delete it. I can press Ctrl Z on my keyboard if I need to bring it back. There's also an undo and a redo button at the bottom, just as you would find on a Word document. If you want to make bits bold, then you can click the bold button here. And if you want to change the alignment of the text, then you can do that. If you want to take it any further, we would recommend looking at adding extra modules in. So, for example, if you wanted to add a table, yes, you can add in a table here, but the design of it is not very good. It's not very easy to edit or easy to change, whereas there's a module for adding tables in. So that's why we would recommend adding in modules rather than trying to do it all within a text module. The text module we would recommend is primarily just for that, for text. However, if you do want to edit some of the features of this text, you can go to the design module. So first of all, you can have a look at the text itself. So what do we want the text color to be? Well, we can change it to a different color. We've got some preset colors here, some saved ones. There's also recent colors if you've used any other ones. And then basically you can click on here on the little pin eyedropper, and you can select whatever color you want the text to be. Now, this is probably a poor example because generally we wouldn't recommend changing the text from anything other than black, really. It helps keep it as accessible as possible. But maybe if you've got a title, you might want to make it a slightly different color. You can change the text size, the text spacing, and all sorts of other things in there as well. The other thing you can do is change the sizing and the spacing of the module itself. Now, these have default settings, and so generally, unless you feel a need to change the size of it, we recommend keeping them as they are. Now, because one of the reasons for that is that sizing is often dependent on the screen that you're reading it on. So when you change, for example, the height of something or the maximum height of something, it's in pixels. Now, what it might look like in terms of pixels on your desktop screen is going to be very different from what it might look like on a mobile screen. So it's important that you are aware of that before you make any changes. However, as with any part of editing something in Divi, you can actually change the font or any of the styles of this text, in this case, this module. You can change it whether it's mobile, tablet, or desktop. So for example, if we want our text size to be 18 on our desktop, we can then click this button at the top here, which is what we call our responsiveness or our responsivity settings. We want our site to be responsive. That means we want it to look just as good on mobile as it does on a desktop. One of the key reasons for that is about 2/3 of website visits nowadays are done on a device other than a computer, and that is growing each day. So if our website is not built and is not suitable for a mobile device, a mobile phone, and that is portrait, whereas this screen is landscape, then we're not going to have a very good site. So what we can do is we can check basically whether our site looks good on a tablet and whether our site looks good on a mobile. Now, as we can see here, on our tablet, you can see what automatically happens, and this is the beauty of Divi, is it's already stacked things on top of each other. So when I land on this page, we can see the menu has been cascaded, it's been collapsed into a hamburger style menu. And you can see that our text has been stacked on top of our image, and then we've got our accordion at the bottom. Now I'm quite pleased with that, so I'm going to keep it as it is. But when I look at the mobile view, I think, in my opinion, the text is too big. It takes a long time to scroll down to read all of the text I want to read. And I'm on a mobile phone, so I don't think it needs to be as big. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the size of the text for a mobile only. So I'm going to change it to, say, a size 13 font. And then I can go back to desktop and we'll see it's still size 18. So that is the joy of Divi, is with any, and you can do this with any module. So you can have a look at the design and basically, as with most parts of editing a website, have a play and see what happens. Because it really is very, very clever and very intuitive once you get the hang of the principles of editing any module, then you can do the same for each. We've also got things like borders and shadows, and you can really go to town with this, but generally we recommend keeping things as simple as possible. As iChurch webmasters, we're not asking you necessarily to be website designers or creatives. If you are, that is brilliant, because Divi allows you and enables you to be that kind of person. But if you want to keep things simple, then definitely do so, because otherwise you could really get lost in a good way, but you can really get stuck down rabbit warrens by finding all the different options that are available to you, because there are lots of options. So keep it simple. Once we've edited any part of our text or any part of our module, basically, we click the tick button here, and then we need to expand these 3 dots here and click the save button. Once you expand the 3 dots once, by the way, it will stay open as it is at the moment. And at any point in this bottom left-hand corner, we can see that we can collapse our page at any point to view it as if it was on a mobile, or view it to see as if it was on a tablet or a desktop. Same kind of principles apply to our image. So when I click the settings button, we can see we've got our content, which of course in this case is simply the image. I can click on the image and I can change that if needs be. And I can give the image a link as well if I want. So I can insert, if I want this image to link to another part of my website, then the easiest thing I can do is click this dynamic content button on the right. And so I can go to a page link. I want to link them to a different page, let's say the worship page. I'm just going to tick that, and that is now done. If I want to link to an external page, so that's a page on another website, then all I need to do is paste the link of that website in here. If we're using an external link, so that's a link to another website, then we recommend that the image link target is set to a new tab. So that will open up the website in a new tab. The bonus of that is that that keeps the other tab on your website. And the more time that people spend on your website, the better. The more likely they are to find something that they want, or find something that you want them to find. If it's an internal link, so a link to another page on your own website, then feel free to keep it as open in the same window, because actually they're still on your website then. So that's all good. Again, with images, you can change some elements of the design. You can change the sizing. Again, the width in this case is displayed as a percentage. So that's a percentage of the entire module size. So I could make it smaller there and then align it to the middle of that column. And the column, remember, is part of a row. So that is the sizing, and there are things like borders that you can add, but we're not going to go into detail on any of these things because we recommend that you just have a play around and see what it looks like. And of course, don't just try and do it all by yourself. Do use other people in your church or in your organisation who will help have a look at things. You know, have a play and then say, what do you think about this change that I've made to the website? So that is the principle of editing modules. Always ensure that we're clicking save, and then do just have a play around. And as long as you're aware of how to undo changes, so that's this button at the bottom here, or redo changes. Also, if you make lots and lots of changes to your page and you don't want them saved, then you can simply click Exit Visual Builder. And if I haven't clicked save, let's say I made a change to this link here. I've made a change and I've made loads of other changes and I can't remember which ones I need to undo, then I'm just going to click exit and it'll say you've got unsaved changes. And then I'm going to go, well, actually I do want to discard all my changes here, so I'm going to click discard and exit. So that is the joy of Divi modules. As recommended, do visit elegantthemes.com/documentation. So in this particular case, if I wanted some help with the text module, then I can literally just type in text module and it has an entire article on how to change and edit the Divi text module. And it goes all the way from the start, as if you were creating a page for the first time. It'll walk you through how to add a module, and it will walk you through all the different elements of a module, or in this case, the text module. It is really, really comprehensive and walks you through step by step. So don't be afraid to have a go and have a look. And if you have any questions for us, then please don't hesitate to email us support@ichurch.website. See you soon.